Welcome to Webster Now with your host, Garrett Wagner.
Some calls, man, they're easy. Some calls, they just look that way. This week, we've got a front row seat to both, believe it or not. The Fireman's Parade. I know, right? One of the biggest nights the town puts on all year. Canceled. 2.5 hours before the step off. 95 floats. Chairs out on the curb days early. And a call people are going to go back and forth on for years. Then, there's an agreement that should have been the quickest yes of the night. Should have been. 2 weeks ago. Nobody could even find it. Well, it's back. And what happened next gives us some hope. One Webster family asked the town for a single sign. Turns out, nobody had asked for it before. And wait to hear where that went. Plus, proposed changes for Bay Road with a date you want to circle on your calendar, and 2 great reasons to squeeze out what's left of summer. As always, I'm Garrett Wagner, lifelong Webster resident, your neighbor, and just a quick reminder, everything you hear today is my perspective only. Nothing said reflects official town policy or action. So let's get into it. Let's start with what everyone's talking about. Fireman's Parade. One of the biggest events we put on. People stake out their spot on the curb in the village ahead of time, days in advance. Chairs lining up like it's a sold-out show. 95 groups and organizations built floats. Businesses across the village stocked up, staffed up, and planned their whole night around it. Volunteers, they worked so hard setting it up, not to mention the countless planning hours throughout the whole year. I mean, it's the community coming together, which we love. And then Thursday afternoon, July 16th, right around 4 p.m., 2.5 hours before the start, it was called off. Word went out on Facebook that the parade was canceled due to air quality from the Canadian wildfire smoke that had been blowing by us for days. And look, the air, it was bad. By early afternoon, Rochester's air quality index was up around 253. Because anything over 200 is considered very unhealthy. The state had a health advisory out, the county closed the zoo, and every county park. So I'm not here to tell you the call was wrong. Some of you think it was the right one. Some of you point out that Hilton ran the parade the same night. Some of you thought by 6:30 the air would have cleared up enough to go. Like most things in life, we're not all going to agree. But here's what I think we need to come back to. Nobody ever clearly kind of explained this to us. Nothing that would have changed the answer, but the understanding. It went from on to off, and the rest of us filled in the blank ourselves. Now compare that to Hilton. Their fire chief went on the record the same afternoon saying they were watching the DC advisories, talking to their department's medical director, and seeing if the county's threshold hit hazardous. He told people straight up, we'll monitor the air on your behalf. And whether or not you agree with where Hilton landed, at least you knew how they arrived at their decision. And that's the point of this. When a decision affects this many people in this community, showing your work shouldn't be a courtesy. It's part of the job. I hope that for future events as important to our town as this one, we'll all receive a little more clarity on thinking when extenuating circumstances come arise. Canceled or not, the work still happened. All those volunteer hours. The folks who spent all day setting up turned right around and spent the next day tearing it back down. 95 floats, decorated, candy bought, stores were sold out. Hours nobody's getting back. The very next day, Kiddo Burgers, for example, had their floor on the street, showing off, giving away candy and flowers. I love that. Check it out. So, whatever you think about the call, here's one any of us can make. Say thank you. See a volunteer around town, thank them. Thank the group that built some floats. And please get down to the village. Hit up a store, grab something to eat. They earn it because they are the ones that really, really missed out. We're not going to agree on every hard call. But we ought to be able to agree that the hard ones deserve a plan. Now, speaking of showing your work, 2 weeks ago, I told you about a vote that didn't happen. The School Resource Officer Agreement. That's the contract that puts 2 Webster police officers in our school. The program's been running since about 2014. The district reimburses the town for 75% of those officers' salary and benefits, and the town, we pick up the other 25%. It comes back to a vote every year, June for renewal. Pretty routine. Except on July 2nd. When it came up for vote, nobody had the document in hand. So it got pushed 2 weeks so people could read it. Well, when we showed up on July 16th, An agreement that spells out the whole program works day to day. It was there. And it was one that the board wasn't handed to this year or in the past. And because they finally read it, some real questions got answered that I think are really good. On page 4, a line saying an officer can stop, question, and take police action without prior authorization of the principal or contacting the parents. If you're a parent, right, your antenna might have just went up. So the police chief did a great job walking us through it right there in public on the record. That line is not about going around parents. It's about lanes. The school can't direct police work, just like the police don't handle school discipline. Department policy and state law decide when a parent has to be there, and the exceptions are narrow. A student might know about a threat to the school or a case where a parent is the one being investigated, with limited exceptions like those. 12 years, and the chief says it's never been a problem. Now, do you think that sentence could have been written more clearly? Yes, but that's the difference. We got an answer. You got an answer. Anybody watching that meeting got a reason out loud before the vote happened. The vote was unanimous. And they all agreed that going forward, they need to review this document every year before they vote. Common sense, right? Now, for a third story today, and my personal favorite, almost a year ago, a Webster family came to town with a simple ask. They wanted a sign on their street letting drivers know a child with autism was there. You think it should be an easy yes, right? Well, when the town went looking for how to make this happen, there wasn't actually a process in place. So our town engineer, Keith Mortimer, he built one. And when he brought it to the board, the first thing he did was tell us where he got it. Buffalo, kudos to you guys. You already had it figured out. So he took their form, put Webster's letterhead on it, gave him credit. 95% Buffalo in his words. That's not cutting corners. That's not wasting your money reinventing something that we already know works. So that's the question. How does it work? There's 3 options for sign: deaf child area, blind child area, and child with autism. Parents fill out an application, including a note from the child's doctor, verifying 4 criteria determined by New York State. Child's under 18. Your street sees fewer than 2,000 vehicles a day. The speed limit's 35 or under, and the road is residential. Lastly, you check in once a year to confirm you still reside there. Straightforward. I like it. The part I really liked is this, that someone asked the obvious question. How would a family even know this exists? And instead of tabling it, the board worked it out right there. Town's website, the newsletter, applications at the building department, and having the school district hand the application to the parents directly. A year to get here is a long time for one sign. But the family asked, somebody did the work, and we got to see where it came from. Lay out exactly what qualifies and what doesn't. So if you're watching this, and this is relevant to your family, call the town engineer department, call the town. The process is there. You just got to ask. Now, speaking of signs, a few more are coming. And this time, you get to say so before they go up. We've talked about how much Webster's been building, but when new neighborhoods go up, Fairlife runs trucks out on Tebow Road, and with the Bay Road project underway, the town's traffic code has to change with them. A sign only means something if the code says it does. Otherwise, it's just a piece of metal on a pole. And that's what local law number 3 is. The code catching up to the roads. No stopping along Tebow Road out by the Fairlife truck entrance. That's a no-no. New stop signs at 4 new neighborhoods: Alyssa Way, Broomhill, Queens Cross, and Sage Forest. And dedicated left turn lanes up and down Bay Road, which is the road diet that recently started. I know, it's the construction part. It's the unpleasant part. I know. They're working on it. Now, nothing's been passed yet. There's a public hearing on August 6th. So mark your calendars. That's your winter opportunity to speak up in case you're really opposed to new stop signs or no parking on Tebow Road. And speaking of nights worth putting on your calendar, come on, this is a big one. Jazz Fest is back, baby. Friday, August 14th. It's jazz in the pubs. 10 venues, 10 music groups from 6 to 10. Then Saturday the 15th, jazz in the street. 4 of the best jazz acts in Rochester music, 4 in the afternoon until 10 at night. And then the following Friday, August 21st, Parks and Rec. Come on, they're amazing. They're throwing the summer send-off at Miracle Field on Ridge Road, 6 to 8. Games, music, food trucks, temporary tattoos, and community groups out there together. Completely free and family friendly. Come on. That's an easy call bringing Webster together. Jazz Fest, end of summer kickoff. What could be better? So that's it, folks. A parade called off with a couple hours to notice. The town's still wondering how that call got made. An agreement got reviewed for the first time in years before anyone signed it. A family that asked for a street sign leading to an important process the town can use moving forward. And a traffic law, it's just waiting on your input. All different stories sharing the same lesson. None of these come down to whether someone made the right call. And they're not about political parties. Some of them we're still going to argue about, and that's fine. What made the difference every time was whether anybody explained how we got there. That's not political. When the thinking gets shared, you can weigh in, you can push back, you can agree, you can disagree. And when it doesn't, all you can do is guess. And guessing is how a town stops trusting itself. So keep showing up. Ask how decisions get made, not just what it is. Thank the people doing the work while you're at it, especially those volunteers for the parade and all the businesses in the village. If this was worth your time, do me a favor. Like, follow along, or share with a fellow resident. Because every step we take is a step towards a better Webster.
You've been watching Webster Now with Garrett Wagner. Join us next time for more local news and updates.